So in some classrooms in TLDSB, we have available these Dell interactive sort of touch screens for presentation and showing work and teaching from. Now, these do include a sort of pen that's magnetically attached to the side of the board, but unlike some previous boards, when you pick up the pen, it doesn't immediately click in and start letting you just write on the documents that you're working with. And it certainly doesn't incorporate that ink into the document itself. Um, what you have access to, and we'll look at some of the ways that you can write on these boards with the tools that are already available in the software that you're working with. So one thing is EpicPen. EpicPen is software that is installed on these computers, and it's giving you the option here to turn on this floating toolbar. And on this document, I also have a link here to our doc where we do have a document and a video just about EpicPen, so I'm not going to get into that too much right now. But this will give you this floating toolbar with, pen tools and line tools and eraser tools. And just like the image sort of shows here, it's writing on this invisible layer that's on top of your screen. It's not, like I say, putting ink into the actual file or the document that you're working with. So sometimes we want to be able to actually incorporate the ink into what we're doing and being able to draw right in the document itself. For that, instead of EpicPen, we'll look at a few options here. So Google Slides is one. Google Slides gives me a line tool here that gives me a bunch of options for straight lines and curved lines and connector lines, but in this case what I'm looking for is actually the last option, the scribble option. So let's just look at that real quick here. I've got a slide up. I can come to my line tool here. I can go ahead and choose that scribble option, and this time now I can just draw on the slide. I can draw wherever I want to draw. I can go to point at things, and this is one of the cons here. There's some pros and cons to everything. When I first use that line tool, it adds that now as part of my document, which is great, but it immediately switches me back to my selection tool here. So if I want to draw again, I click on scribble, and then I can start pointing at things this way, make a little arrow. And of course, I did that in one smooth motion. I didn't stop and take my pen off the screen, or in this case, let go of my mouse button, because that would release that tool and I'd be left with just a straight line. So I need to hit scribble again. I could draw a circle around something if I wanted to really emphasize this. And then it switches off that scribble tool and back to my selection tool. So I can draw on these presentations. It's just going to take more clicking in that sense because I've got to keep coming back to that scribble tool. Now at the moment, I can't use the present mode because of course, when I go into present mode in a Google slide, I no longer get any of those tools available to me. So I need to escape out of that or hit the X up at the top here and get out of there. Now what I can do is use this little arrow that we see just below the share button. It sort of expands and gets my menus and such out of the way, so I don't have those to worry about. I'm just seeing this. And then after that, there's also a F11 key, or if I were to hit the menu up here and I were to come down, there's this. It's sort of like a full screen type option for the browser itself. So Slides doesn't realize it's going into full screen, but I can click that and I get more real estate, more space on my screen here. I still get my slides down the side, so it's a bit like Notebook that way. I can go to a previous slide. I can click my scribble tool and I can start drawing what I want to draw here. And then go back to that scribble tool again to do my little arrows if I need to. Hit it again, throw in a little star, whatever it is I'm trying to create. And of course, because I've got all my tools available, I still have all the other shape options and such in this toolbar as well. So slides will let me get away with that. I can then bring that back down. I can hit that X to get myself out of that full screen mode, and I'm back to using regular slides the way I typically would. So Scribble Tool is an option if I'm working with a Google Slide, if that's how I choose to create my presentations and present information. Pro, it does say it's great for selecting the line and changing that color and style, because once I've drawn that, I can start adjusting the thickness of the line, the color of the line. I can stretch it and manipulate it if I need to, so maybe I didn't draw exactly where I wanted to. I could make changes to that. The con, of course, as we saw, I do have to repeatedly go back to that scribble tool. and it doesn't work in that full present mode. So there's a nice little F11 sort of workaround for that. But as I come down, one of my other options would be PowerPoint, possibly Word. If I'm working in the Office programs, a lot of them will have this Draw tab available to me. So if I were to go ahead and bring up a PowerPoint here, I'll bring that over here. And within PowerPoint, I have a Draw button here. So with Draw, I can grab whatever pen I want and I can start drawing away. In this case, it actually does remember that I've got that Draw tool on there. So I can just keep doing it. I can release on that and not make quite such a sloppy arrow. I can still come back to my other tools if I wanted to use the insert and start throwing other different shapes and things in there. I've got all that access as well. But as long as I'm on that Draw ribbon there, that Draw tab, I'll be able to click and just draw in these various colors however I might want. And I've got a highlighter tool there as well, so of course if I highlight things then it won't cover up what I've already gotten, whereas if I go with some of these other options they will just cover right over what I've previously drawn. It just depends on what you're trying to create there. So you've got pen tools available that way, and you'd be able to select them on your screen and then use your finger or your pen tool or whatever you might be using on that Dell board and start touching that screen, and it's going to treat it like any other mouse click, which in this case is a pen. So PowerPoint's an option as well. Much like slides though, if I were to kick myself into the present mode and show that in full screen, I'm not going to have the tools. Oh, sorry, you're seeing, with two screens, it's going to give me the speaker notes. But in full screen mode there, I don't get the option to, of course, start creating and drawing and doing all of that. So I would need to remain in this editing mode where I've still got all my toolbars. So if I get PowerPoint out of my way here, there we go. Word is the same, so I put that in there as well. Word also has a drawing ribbon there, so you'll be able to tap that and go ahead and start drawing on documents and things if you happen to have created something that way. There's some options for pointers and things in here that you can get to your different pen tools, but it definitely will limit you a little bit in that sense. And of course, Notebook. You've got Notebook on your machines as well, or if not, you can always install it. There's a free option for Notebook. And Notebook is a very common one that we use for presenting material, certainly. What I can do is with my Notebook files here, I've drawn a little happy face with my, well, some kind of face. With my shape tools here, I just went ahead and clicked on these shape tools and used some circles and ovals and things to create that. But then at any time, I've also got pen tools. So I can click the pen tool. I've got a few of them here already, and I can just start drawing. So in that sense, I'd have to actually tap that pen tool. I can draw, 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 and in this case, it will stick with that pen tool. So as soon as I want to select something, now this is the opposite of slides. I have to go and choose that select tool, and now I can click on it, and I can move it and manipulate it and make changes to it. So one will keep you on that pen tool, or I should say this two of them, this one and PowerPoint, will keep you on that pen tool and let you just draw and draw and draw and draw, and then choose your selection tool to actually manipulate it, where slides is the opposite. So you've got those options with all three different pieces of software there to be able to choose the actual built-in pen tools for that software and start working with it that way. Now, the last option here would be websites. If you've got a website up and you want to just draw on it, that's where you're going to go to Epic Pen. So that's that first option I mentioned at the very beginning. You can launch the Epic Pen software and it's going to allow you to draw on top of that as its own layer. But if you're looking at a website and say, I want to actually annotate that, I want to draw on that, I want to make the ink part of that image, whatever it is you happen to be showing, well, now you've got to start capturing pictures of that screen. So with a picture of that screen, you're going to be able to draw all over it, and of course the ink will stay with that image because you're not actually affecting the website. So you've got a few options for capturing your screen. You have a print screen button right on your keyboard, usually in the upper right corner. That will allow you to create a capture of that. It will copy that, and then it will allow you to then just paste that image right into whatever software you're working with. So any of those ones I just mentioned, and mostly everything else, right up to even just writing an email, you could be able to use your paste options and paste that image right in there. Now it's going to capture the entire screen with toolbars and start buttons and everything else all included here. So it's not highlighting specific areas, but you do have also this snipping tool. This is a built-in feature of Windows that you can use. And I can find that on my Windows menu here. When I come there, I'd be able to scroll around and find the snipping tool, or I can use the little search bar that we have at the bottom of our screen and type the word snip, and it's going to pop up really, really quick. And I can find that snipping tool. When I launch him, which I was messing with earlier, I can just say new, and it gives me a moment to draw a box around whatever I want, and it'll capture that little chunk for me. From there, I can hit the copy button and go paste it wherever I want, paste it into slides or notebook or email or anything, or I can actually save it as a picture. That's something that the other options do not give us. So here, if I saw something and I really wanted to keep that as an actual image file for later, I could use it over and over and over. Then I could save that, and then I could bring that into slides over and over and over and write on each of them differently maybe. So snipping tool is a good option for capturing just what you actually want. The Smart Notebook software also has a capture camera built into it. So if I bring Notebook back up for a moment, I have the option of using this screen capture camera. Now, if that's not on your toolbar right away, you can always come and right-click your toolbar somewhere, and you'll see all sorts of little buttons and things that weren't on there previously. So if the camera wasn't on there, because by default it's not always there, it means I can come here and through my actions I can start looking for that camera tool, and I should be able to find it actually not in actions but under tools. Is it tools, add-ons? No, it is actions. Where did it go? It's hiding on me now. Here, there it is, screen capture. Okay, click and drag that right up here until I find a spot where it will let me drop that. So right there with that vertical bar means I can drop it and it will become its own button. Done. I can use that to launch a little floating toolbar here. And this gives me a few choices. So the first one acts just like the snipping tool. I can draw a box around whatever I want. The next one is going to capture just a specific window. So say the Chrome window. I can capture an entire application. Or the last one is a very interesting little freehand tool. So I'll minimize this stuff here. Click that. And now I get to just freehand whatever kind of weird shape I want and then let go. And it captures that for me and allows me to send that to my current page in Notebook. And now I have that right there to manipulate and change and do whatever I want and plunk it on screen. So from there, the next option or last option is a screenshot tool that's in Office. So if you're working in Word or you're working in PowerPoint and that's where you prefer to be, there is the same tool available in those applications as well. I just need to go to my Insert tab. I get this little screenshot tool that I can click on, and I get the option to capture one of the two windows that I currently have open, whatever I've got running right now. I can just click on it and it's a full screen capture immediately pasted. Or screen clipping. If I use that option, it will minimize PowerPoint because it presumes that's not what I actually want to take a capture of. And now I can just go ahead and draw a box around whatever I want, and it's going to grab that for me and allow me to manipulate it and move it around and make it part of my file here. So options within all of those different software in terms of making little captures right up to the print screen that you can use absolutely everywhere, and then all these different sort of pen tool type options in all of these different programs. So not the same as, say, working with a smart board and how those pens will function, but you do have options in most of these software to at least be able to initiate a pen tool and start drawing on the work that you've got up on screen.